Views and content expressed in the following program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the following program.
Hello again and welcome to Political Talk. I'm here with my partner, Todd Schleiger.
How you doing this evening?
And of course, as always, no cue cards, no idiot boards,
just a couple of idiots.
Yeah, just ad-lib conversation. And what we want to do, our motive here is to get you to think. Todd and I agree on things, disagree on most. The unfortunate part is he always remembers the things that we disagree on and never the things we do agree on. But I wanted to start off tonight with a little lesson in politics.
I'm all ears.
And this is going to lead in. Now, there's different types of government.
Yes.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to give some sort of definition of them.
Okay.
In a quick way, just
Do I have to agree with all this?
No. Now I'm going to see how much you know. Okay, so this is based on a farmer that has 2 cows. Okay, now he could be living in Lake Orion, he could be living in Oxford, he could be living anywhere. I hope he's not living with the cows, but so we take this same farmer and we'll put him into different categories of politics.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with communism. So communism, so this farmer, he has 2 cows, so the government takes both and gives you part of the milk. That's how communism works.
Right.
Okay. So
supposedly it's for the betterment of the community, so to speak.
Right. So in socialism, the farmer has 2 cows. The government takes one and gives one to your neighbor.
Correct.
Okay. Now in fascism, you have 2 cows. The government takes both cows and sells you the milk.
Say that one again?
The government in fascism takes both cows and sells you the milk.
Kind of close to what we have here in a way.
Okay, in Nazism, we all know about Nazism. In Nazism, the farmer would have 2 cows, the government takes both of them and shoots you.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that one.
All right. Then we have one that's a little more closer to home, bureaucracy.
Okay.
You have 2 cows, the government takes both of them, shoots one, milks the other one, then pours the milk down the drain.
Sounds kind of wasteful.
Sounds like bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Then you have capitalism. You have 2 cows, you sell one of them, and you buy a bull.
I like that one, though,
Okay,
when you think
okay.
about it, because that way you're at least setting up to have more cows.
So what happens in a democracy?
Oh, I'm waiting for this, all right.
I don't know.
We haven't had one in quite a while.
No. And I guess the lead into this is I wanted to talk about the 2 parties that we have.
Okay. I was curious to where you were going with all this.
Well, everyone seems to fit somewhere. But I've noticed something with both parties, and I'm a very conservative Democrat. You are whatever it is you are.
I'm an independent. I kind of lean both ways. I try to feel like I accept the good from both parties, but at the same time.
Well, and that's good. Now, I'm similar to that because if the Democratic person follows the party line too strong and not only resembles the emblem of a jackass, I don't vote for him.
Well, you know as well as I do. My opinion on it is, and I've said it over and over again, I personally believe the 2-party system is broken. They've lost touch with the people, and the problem that we have in there is nobody wants to think outside the box. You can't elect a Democrat or a Republican nowadays without them following their party lines. when we do elect them, they start out good, but the party seems to corrupt them or sway them, however you want to say it. I plain out, I believe they just corrupt them because if they don't follow their party lines, and I'm talking about either or, the Democrats or the Republicans, if they go against their parties, it's more or less committing political suicide.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that. Going back to the farmer and the two cows, the Republican Party, they had a conservative approach, and there was nothing wrong with that. A conservative approach on many items is very much needed. The Democrats, allegedly, are the liberals, give everything away. But the thing is that the Republican Party, from what I've seen, has our current, let's see, how can I got to be nice because otherwise I could get beaten up or get a stone thrown through my house. No,
Kind of violent.
Well, see, that's what it is. It has gone past, you said think outside the box?
Right.
These people aren't even in the box.
No, I have to agree with you on that. It's gotten to the point where it's getting crazy, chaotic.
We have been inundated with the other side is the enemy.
Mm-hmm. That's what they like to tell everybody.
What's it must be a hell of a thing in a household where one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. I don't think they can belong on the same floor of the house.
Well, I've actually seen situations like that, and I'll tell you what. Matter of fact, that's an aunt and uncle I have. She's a Democrat and he's a Republican, and they have some knockdown, drag-out arguments and fights over their political beliefs. How they stayed together as many years as they have, I couldn't tell you, but it's unbelievable. It really is. I can't understand. I don't know how they make it.
I don't. You have to tread lightly now, where you have to watch what you say because people will snap like that. There was a young man telling me about he went to a party and that was I guess at the beach, and one of the people there saw his car, which happened to be a Hyundai. Mm-hmm. And he was asking the people, who owns this Hyundai here? And the man said, that belongs to me. And he said, why don't you buy American? And the man said, well, first of all, it is American. It's made in Alabama.
Right.
He said, no, it's not. So then they got into the discussion, and he went down. And he said, well, first of all, the clothes that you're wearing, the majority of them are probably made in China. Have you checked? And he said, no. And then the beer that he was drinking was Budweiser, which, of course, is not an American company anyway.
Oh, no, I don't know about that one.
No, Budweiser is owned by a Belgian company now.
Oh, that happened just recently.
No. 4 years ago.
Oh, well, that's recent.
So it is now a Belgian company. It's not an American company. It's made in America, but they sold out.
I mean, you got to realize, no matter how you look at it, I mean, this is a world economy nowadays. It's not like the 60s and 70s where, most of what we made was right here in America. I mean, for a while, what was it in the 80s? They had the big slogan, Buy American, and all this and that. Matter of fact, if I remember right, Walmart started out as an all-American made company.
Yeah, what are they now? 7% American?
Yeah, as far as the auto manufacturers go, that's like the Kia. It's a Korean international auto. Half the cars that you buy here are more American than our big three. You look at the Chrysler 200; it's more Italian than it is American. It's a world economy now, and no matter how much I would love to say everything I buy and everything is all American made, you can't hardly say that anymore.
Well, one of the points that really bothers the hell out of me is the fact that when I listen to the current regime speak.
I love it when you talk about Trump.
Well, I'm trying to be very nice because, first of all, we're on the air. And secondly, it's actually harder for me to think of something nice to say than it is, the other words just come so fluently. But having said all that, you get the impression that it's the government's fault for these jobs leaving. Now, I am going to use our current occupant of the White House because he has stated that all these jobs left America. Well, my question is, it seems to give the impression that it was because of the workers, it was because of Americans, it was because of the taxes, there's a reason for it. But there's one reason that he doesn't say.
Okay.
And that is the greed of the owners of these companies.
Correct.
Now, they chose to move the company out of the United States. They didn't ask the workers, should we move?
No.
They didn't ask the workers, we're going to move, do you want to move with us? Didn't ask that.
No. Their reason for moving was to make more money. That's a
To
common
increase
given.
profit. Okay,
Yep.
so you went down to Mexico, and I remember General Motors building a company down there, and they had what they called disposable factories. They would build the factory up, they would pay the workers $5 an hour, which was great money for Mexico.
Right.
Okay, no benefits or very little benefits. And then if anything happened, they would shut the company down.
Right.
Now, that's all well and good, but we keep blaming the wrong people. And this new tax structure that they want to put in is to benefit these very people that left. Now, here's the thing.
Now you got my curiosity. I'm listening.
Okay, if, according to said demagogue, all these companies are just pouring back into the United States. And that's not true. They're not pouring back in. First of all, in China, if you build a factory over there, you must staff it with Chinese workers. Okay? You can't go and bring American workers in, or this one. You have to have
They
staff.
allow some of them to come in.
No, in the upper echelon.
Right.
Okay. So now you've built a factory over there. You're making big money. Now, allegedly, we were supposed to see the savings of those lower rates and the lower taxes, or the lower job wages.
Right.
And the cars were supposed to be cheaper, but they never were.
No, they've gone up.
Yeah. So they made this huge amount of money, and then they didn't bring the money back, which put the United States in a very strange position. Now, Ireland, right now, with their 12%, they're sitting very good. Now, the
Right.
factories aren't there, just the money is, and then the offshore islands that they have.
Right.
Now, they've created these things, and the thing is, our so-called leader, not only federal but state, sold out to the Chinese. Now, I'm not just going to say the Chinese, but
You're talking about Rick Schneider here in Michigan?
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. You said it. I didn't. He sold his company to a Chinese firm.
His
Computer
CPA.
firm.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is, here all these people, buy American, American this, Michigan this, and yet you don't practice what you preach.
Okay. I'm listening.
The current regime, federal, has 12 factories outside the United States. Now, I could have a percentage of respect for him if he said, you know what, I have 12 factories outside the United States, I'm going to bring them all back. But he doesn't. He keeps his factories out there and talks about everybody else. Talks about General Motors doing this, and then the Carrier deal, the one that he promoted, turned out to be a joke because those people are getting laid off anyway. And the 500 jobs are still going down to Mexico to make furnaces. And of course, they need a lot of furnaces in Mexico. You know how
cold it gets down there?
Oh, yeah. So if they were making air conditioners, but see, what that company got was tax for their role in this little charade. Mr. Pence got them tax credits, and United Technologies got government contracts in order to put this show on. And then it turns out those jobs are going anyway, and the people that weren't going to be laid off are now going to be laid off after all. So it was all a game. Now, his daughter, on the other hand, when she was preaching for jobs for women and entrepreneurs, she's an entrepreneur too. And yes, I said it that way. She, all her factories are in China. She got 17 permits just recently in the last 4 months. And there were some reporters went over and looked, and they are sweatshops. And they're looking into fixing them up. My point is, practice what you preach. You tell us law and order. You tell us to stand up for the flag. You tell us all these things. You tell us you're going to drain the swamp. You're going to do all these things. You're going to lower taxes, and I'm not going to get anything. And you're lying. And what makes it worse is the people that are in Congress and in the legislature know they're lying and stand up for the party just as you said they did, because that party keeps them in that spot. Damn the people, government for sale. Now, what qualifies that? Well, let me show you something here. And I'm showing this on TV. This is Congressman Bishop's Jobs and Economy Tour continues. Well, Mr. Bishop has gone around to different companies, and now he's putting his commercials. He's already running for office. 2018 hasn't even gotten here yet.
Well, there's a lot of people already running for office for
Yeah,
2018.
and the thing is, what he's done is he said he was going to hold town hall meetings here. Well, he has a little game that he plays. You cannot, I've been trying to get in there, and they've been,
They block us.
yeah, not only block you, they, oh, well, you as soon as we approve it, then we'll put it on the computer. This is the game that they play.
Right.
And then when you go to the computer, it's not on there, not on there. It'll go on, and they'll fill it within a matter of minutes.
Correct.
Now, what he does, and he thinks that we're stupid, it's so
All of them
easy
treat us that way.
for the Republican Party to go through, check the names, check the file on computer, and see who is and who ain't. And then he'll have 25 people there, and they'll all have a nice little discussion.
Before the
Yeah.
town hall.
And it's all crap. See, he doesn't have the guts to come out and talk to the people, but he does have the guts to come out and ask for money. I got another letter from Miss Gretchen Whitmer again, asking me to give her another $200.
Did you give her any the first time?
No, that's $640. I'm waiting for her phone call, because I called her office and I said, well, just give her the message that the $640 is here, safe in my pocket, and when she calls me,
Wait.
discuss it.
It wasn't 640. It was 6,400.
Or 6,000. Oh, I'm sorry.
I remember this
I stand
conversation.
corrected. Yeah, 6,400. Again, government for sale. You won't talk to the person because now that's all you are. So these guys will band with the party. The party is the key to it. The voter is the means to get there. And once I get there,
Then it's all the party.
I don't need. You want to have some fun? I'm telling all people who are viewing this, have some fun with yourself. Go on the computer and go to U.S. senators' contact numbers. Get the list and call some of them. Go to your state legislature and call them. Call your governor's office and tell them, I have an idea, or I'd like to talk to you. And he doesn't talk to you.
No. I know. I've called that number.
I'll tell you
on
the
him.
best one. I owed the state tax money, and I
Okay.
wanted to pay it. And I couldn't get through to the Treasury. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. So I got so mad, I called the governor's office. And they said, well, he's too busy. He wouldn't talk to you anyway. I said, I have
They
tax.
literally said it that way?
Yeah. I have tax money. I want to pay him. I had to fight to give him the damn money.
Try that with your insurance companies. They'll talk to you as long as you're ready to give them money, but the state won't.
Yeah, but the point is, these people were just, nothing to them.
All they are is a facade. They're just basically a fake wall put up in front for the people to try to communicate with and just be told, oh, they're too busy. They don't have time to talk such menial situations. Everything we want to put into the offices is menial compared to what they have in their plans. I mean, they want to make it put out, they want you to think that they're doing something for you as the people of Michigan. They've caused more damage to the state by their bickering than they have good for the state. And again, when I speak, I'm speaking of both parties. That's why I will not vote for a Democrat or a Republican ever again in my adult life.
It's filtered down to the people. Even the people cannot sit and have a logical conversation because it is so divided, and it just keeps getting worse and worse, and they keep piling it on as if this is how I'm going to keep it. And now let me ask you, if you had a plumber come over to your house to fix some plumbing, and he told you you needed all new plumbing all the way through, and you knew all you needed was a faucet, you'd be pissed. Correct?
First off, I would never call a plumber. I do it myself anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Right, I know what you meant.
Same thing with your car.
Right.
If you knew the mechanic was lying to you, you'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Well, how can these two men who are supposedly leading us bold-faced lie?
Oh, I'm telling
And
you, that's
I don't mean
politicians in general.
Stretch
lately.
the truth. I don't mean spin. I mean bold-faced lie.
They've been doing it for decades, but now it's to the point where they do it blatantly right in front of us.
And then we sit and we watch the people behind them cheering them on. Yeah, lie some more. Tell me a lie. Make me feel good. And in a way, that's how what I think they do. They build on your fears. And I think for the so-called 33%, and I have to be real careful because they're vicious. There's some of them, no, this is not a joke.
Well, I understand.
Some of them are absolutely vicious.
When you start making waves in their parties, they retaliate, and they shouldn't be, but they do.
You know, government should be a discussion. It should be something, an idea is going back and forth and back and forth. It's not ideas, it's you touch mine.
Well, like
I'll punch you.
I've said this once before, and this whole conversation right now makes me remember what Thomas Jefferson said. You know, when the people fear their government, that's tyranny. When the government fears their people, that's liberty. And today, that is to the point where
they don't fear us.
No. If they have any fear of any one of us or any group of us, they come out after us. So
I asked this man's office, Mr. Bishop, what they do, and this was verified. And they're not the first ones. This goes back a ways. Okay, they're in fairness to them, they're not the first ones that have done this. But after that guy won, not only did two of his female minions come out and say that he had his list of enemies and he will take care of them, but he said it too.
Right.
So I called Mr. Bishop's office and I mentioned that to them. Oh, no, we don't do that. I said, you don't? I said, I know for a fact that it's not true. If somebody gets out of line, you go after them. You go after their taxes. You actually do retaliate.
Yes.
When someone gets out of line. That is the fear in our government. Now,
that isn't the fear in our government. That's the fear they interject into the people.
Of our government. And they say it doesn't happen, and they're lying. This man here doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, and will stand there. And that's Democrats too. If you know something is wrong, then you stand up and you say,
they will not go against their parties. I'm telling you. The problem is that we can't get anybody in there that is already a Democrat or a Republican because they won't go against them.
And part of it is they can't because they need the money from the people. Now, one young man, Mr. Heller from Nevada, when he said he was going to go against the health care, one of the supporters of the current regime came out and said, I will put up $1 million to blacklist you. Now we have people, and this is what was the term that went through the federal court? Citizens United. When they passed the law that said a corporation is an entity, is a person.
Is a person.
Okay, by doing that now, these people with money can come out with crap. And I wanted to go back to the cows, but of course I can't. Excrement, how's that? And they will create something that is false. Now, you and I, we went to a meeting with the League of Women Voters, and there was a young lady there.
Yep.
And they objectively looked at commercials to find falsehoods.
They're supposed to be looking at it objectively.
I thought
You're
they
talking
did.
about Bridge Magazine,
Yes.
okay, not the League of Women Voters.
Well, it was
I've
at
been
League of
paying,
Women-
They
League
were
of
at
Women
the
Voters
thing with
meeting.
League of
Yep.
Women Voters. Now, I've been paying attention lately to the League of Women Voters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have actually, and doesn't matter to me if they watch this TV show or one of their members watch it, they've changed. You know, they're supposed to be a neutral ground. They're supposed to host these neutral events where they can bring out both sides so that both sides can sit there in front of the people and have a conversation and put out their points while the other side puts out their points. They're not doing that no more. I went to a get-together that was hosted by the League of Women Voters. It was supposed to be on medical insurance, health insurance here in Michigan. It turned out to be a Democratic rally. And I mean, there was some big heavy hitters there. I mean, Bernie Sanders was there.
Oh, I remember that one, yeah.
And
yeah.
I went there to listen and to see what was going on with health insurance here in Michigan. And it just turned out to be a Democratic rally. And, you know, you had Chuck Schumer there. You had, like I said, Bernie Sanders was there. Brenda Lawrence was there. And they were all out in force. And it was just, the whole situation it was us against them. It wasn't nothing to do with the health insurance like it was supposed to be. And ever since then, I still get the emails from the League of Women Voters, and I've gone to a couple more since. They're still doing the same thing. They're not taking this neutral ground anymore.
No.
And so I've kind of gotten to the point where when they send me an email, it's like I just delete it without even reading it anymore because they're not who they are or were.
No. And in fact, the Democratic Party has ostracized me because I failed to go for the number one issue, and that's collecting money.
Yeah, it's all a money game.
What I feel I should do, whether I'm a Democrat or Republican, is push from the party the best and greatest good for the constituency.
All right. For the
And
people
that's not what it
themselves.
is. The Republican Party, as I see them now, is you have four factions, groups within groups. You have the Republican Communist. As crazy as that sounds.
I know it. I know exactly where you're going with it, so go ahead.
When you have, and not just one, but quite a few of them, that praise a country that would just as soon see us be swallowed up in the ocean.
All right.
And you praise them and call the other side and anyone who does not agree with them the enemy. That's dangerous.
Well, I mean, you've got right now, if you go talk to any Democrat or Republican, and I try to stay on tune with this because it's not just one-sided anymore. At one point, I could say, at one point in time, the Republicans were the stronger parties, and then at another time, the Democrats were a stronger party.
And they were.
But right now, it's gotten so far out of balance. It's the best way I can figure to say this, is they've gotten so far out of balance. It's if the Democrats come up with a great idea, and I mean both sides come up with great ideas.
Yes.
But just to make this as easy as possible, if the Democrats come up with a great idea, The Republicans, no matter how good of an idea it is or a plan it is, they will not back it.
Nope.
And it's vice versa the same. If the Republicans come up with a great idea, the Democrats won't back it because it's got to be their party that comes up with
Yeah.
it. This is how strong the party lines have been pushed. And it can't, for the people of Michigan or the nation to even benefit from anything, it has to be a mutual thing, so to speak. In other words, it's who's ever in power, they have to stay in power at all cost.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if the people are suffering, and you like aiming towards the national, the federal
the
government
state-
and the
states
nation,
equally.
but I stay towards the state. And, that's why me and you have our differences all the time. And most of the time we still, no matter if we disagree, we still communicate. And sometimes we agree to disagree. But the whole thing is, no matter how you look at it, Michigan's in the same situation that the federal government is. Okay? It has to be the Republican Party or it has to be the Democratic Party. We need, as a state and as a nation, to start looking towards our third parties, because the Democrats and Republicans, they've gotten too powerful. Look at, and I can use Michigan again for an example. Look at signatures. If our candidates come up here, if you're a Democrat or Republican, you need only 15,000 signatures. Mm-hmm. If you come in as a third party, an independent, a libertarian, or any of them, you have to have 30,000 signatures. How's that fair to the people?
It isn't, because they want to shut out.
But here's the thing:
Any possible competition.
when you get Democrats running, and the Republicans running, okay, they'll have a primary, okay. We'll just use some fictitious numbers. Say there's 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. Generally, they're offset, but either way, because some, whatever. All right, you get these 3 Democrats there in their primary. Okay, they'll give the people the vote to find out who they want for their candidate for the Democrats. Mm-hmm. Okay, now automatically, those 3 have not gone out and gathered signatures already.
No,
they don't. They don't go out and gather signatures. You've got the independents and the libertarians and all them other parties out running around getting signatures. Okay, they have 180 days to get 30,000 signatures, verified signatures. What these people do, this Democratic Party, and this is the same with the Republican Party as well, but I'm just picking on the Democrats at this time. The winner of that primary automatically gets to be the nominated candidate. Doesn't have to worry about signature 1. How is that fair to the people of Michigan? It isn't, because we have more than 2 parties. Yes, we have 2 major parties, but we still have more than 2 parties. And what they'll downright tell you, and they'll tell these to the independents and to the libertarians, we'll do everything in our power to keep you off that debate stage.
not only that, but
This
more
stuff
and
has
more.
to stop. And
Yeah.
the only way to stop it is the people of Michigan or the country to step up and say, no, this isn't going to happen. I've talked to State Rep Shane Hernandez. Nice guy, great guy. I helped him get elected. And I asked him about the signature thing. He says he did not know that the independents needed twice as many signatures.
Well, something else that happens that a lot of people don't know is that the ruling party will go after the other party through the Attorney General, and the Attorney General we have in there now is notorious for that. Brian Cox wasn't much better. And they will go after them to destroy the party. Now I'm going to bring up this young man's name, Mr. Bishop, because Mr. Bishop...
If you haven't noticed by now, he has two elected officials that he has
Actually, no, there's
despises.
several, and they belong to our area. And the reason they piss me off is the fact that now Mike Bishop started out with a very noble idea of going into office. I was really impressed with him, but then he became a politician.
Correct, and this is where I got back to again. The party line swayed him, but brought out a part of him that they liked even more, and they had to. He's their pit bull.
But he wants to stay in power, so he does as he's told. But see, when he was in the state, when he was the Speaker of the Senate,
Right.
he negated items that would have benefited all the people of the state, because it had to be his party, and the Democrats are equally the
Responsible
same,
for it.
because they do the same damn thing.
Gretchen Whitmer done it when she was a minority speaker.
What happens is they prevent us from having a better life. They prevent us, and there's
Maybe a better opportunity. Yeah, I give you that.
no, a better life, because there's some things that are happening now that just shouldn't.
Right. I'll give you that.
And my second faction, which covers both parties, is both parties are the party of money.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Remember what we said in a few shows ago?
Yeah.
Government for sale, buy your politician, buy one $20, two for $35,
Right. I remember that.
And the thing is, they do it and they're so blatant about it.
Well, I'll say 20 years ago. I mean, they knew they were doing wrong, just like they do now, but they didn't do it so blatantly in front of us. They did it behind our backs and behind closed doors. They came around the bush, instead of just coming straight at you and say, you know what, I need your money, and then just take it from you, which is basically what they're doing.
Yeah. Then there's the faction, and it's on both sides.
Yes.
Again, the faction of violence and prejudice. Now, the latest candidate from Alabama, Roy Moore.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Damn, if that gets in office, because he is dangerous. He is absolutely dangerous. You could think those things, and you would read about those after they got out of office. But now they are so blatant, they come straight out with it. And that right there is another thing that's dividing us. Now, eventually, it's going to implode.
The two parties are dividing us as we speak.
As we speak.
The whole thing is, no matter how you look at it, and I can't stress this enough, we need to, as the people of Michigan or as this nation, we need to pay attention to what's going on. I've ran into people who say, well, my vote won't matter. It does matter. No matter whether you believe it or not, it still does.
Those are your independent voters.
And
because they don't have anyone to vote for.
Well, they've asked me who I would vote for in our next election for, we have a whole bunch of elections coming up in 2018. I mean, you got 110 state reps going up for election, 38 senators going up for election. Yeah, we're cleaning house.
Well, what's really funny is when I ran,
I just won't. There's no way in heck that I would vote for an incumbent at this point.
And
even ones that I have that I like, if anybody, I hate to say it, but if anybody's been in there longer than one term, they've already on their way to being corrupted by the party.
Well, if you stand your ground, and there are a few that have taken the ideal and hung on to it, and there's people in the party, and there's the Republicans of tradition. There's Democrats of tradition. These are people that, and it's really nice to see in the federal government now, that some of them are coming out and actually saying, okay, look, enough is enough. Let's sit down and work this out. But these other three factions on both parties are saying, no, we can't do that. We can't do that, because if we don't have this divide, we cannot have people coming together, because we can't guarantee their vote. Now, right now, as we speak, the federal court is they're hearing arguments on gerrymandering, and this is coming out of Wisconsin. For those people who don't know what gerrymandering is, at the census, after they take the census,
2020,
they redraw the districts. Now, each district is based on an amount of people.
Yep.
Okay, so the one that I ran in was the state rep, and that was 85,000 people. Now, what you should do, what is legal and by the law in most states, you cut districts by population, and you just keep cutting and cutting and cutting. Well, what is happening, because both parties, Democrats and Republicans, are doing this. They get in there and they go through, because you can look on computer and see how people voted through the primary, and then they start cutting, and they will circle in their party. So let's take a district like Detroit. Okay, they will cut it. So, okay, it's the Republicans in charge now. They'll cut it to where they have, out of 15 districts, they'll have 9.
I'm not an artist,
Now they'll
but this is what a lot of what's going on with the gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm correct. This should be the proper way to do it.
correct.
And this is the way they're doing it.
And this is what we're trying to show.
Don't mind my art.
Yeah. But there is a formula where they would just break off 85,000 people, and someone from within that district would run, and whatever will be, will be. The more honest you are, the more forthright, the more you represent your district, and you can win. But that's not how it is. So what they've done now is they've done this district here, where they cut it out where the highest concentration, and they do it by precincts.
Yes. And the highest concentration of either Republicans or
Yeah.
Democrats, so that they can win that district.
And then they will hold that district. And this is what Wisconsin did. Now, Michigan is equally like this, because the district that Gary Peters was in covered 3 counties.
Yes.
It was like a snake.
Yep. It went zigzagging in there, and just so that he could, that was from 2010.
Yeah.
That was put in, if I remember right, he was a Democrat.
Yes.
And that was the way that in 2010 the Democrats had, because they were the ones in power at the time. That's when they drew the parties out, or the districts out.
They're both at fault.
They both are, is exactly
Because they're both breaking the law, but they won't turn each other in because they're both doing it.
that's exactly
Now-
right. Because generally, when you see something like this, then you'll find small pockets of Republican. Well, I'm just saying this is the Democratic one. But you'll find a pocket here that's Republican, this little part here is Republican, but there isn't enough people in there to make it a district. So it's attached over in here somewhere. Heck, you might even find it, this portion here is all Republican, and there's only 46,000 people in here, but yet you'll have a thin line of a Democrat here to separate it, and then all of a sudden the district will actually come way over here just to make it right.
Now, a few years ago, I remember when a young man in Minnesota ran, Jesse Ventura. And when I heard
He
that
was an independent.
Yeah. When I heard that on the radio, I thought, oh my God, you can't be serious.
A wrestler.
A wrestler in a tutu is going to run.
Yep.
But I was wrong.
He done a bunch of great things with Minnesota. I mean, he screwed up a couple little things here and there, but he still was a good governor for the state.
He was a great governor for the state.
Yep.
Because he looked at the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. But he did one thing, and it amazed him. He brought both parties together to hate him. And
At least he was the hated one, not each of the
but
parties.
you know what was amazing about it? They got together for the first time and said, we're not going to do anything just to screw you up. Now, basically what they should have said was to the people of Minnesota, the hell with you. We're not going to do anything to make your life better. We're not going to do anything. And they were blatant about it. So it wasn't a matter of an independent coming in there and saying, okay, let's work together. You and you come. No, they actually banded together and said, so what I'm saying is, the point is, the parties have forgotten why they are there.
Yes.
And the people cannot see this. You think that Trump is for us? Do you think that Snyder is for us? Ask the people of Flint. When he said it was their fault, what happened to them? And someone in his office, as I've said in previous shows, someone in his office, and it was reported, said, the people of Flint live in a cesspool and they deserve what they get.
Well, let's see, it was his chief of staff, what was his name? I can't think of what his name was, came up to him back in February of 2015 and told Governor Schneider, he says, look, we have a Legionnaires breakout in Flint. Now, Legionnaires is transmitted by bad water. That should have sent up red flags immediately, but no, it didn't. Then there was after it had come out, what was it? Almost a year later, then he says that, now they have a lead issue in Flint. Well, and it just ticks me off about it because, out of all this, Flint is still my hometown. I grew up in Flint. I lived in Davison, but I still grew up in Flint. That was my stomping grounds. And to see the people over there suffering through this, still to this day, it literally ticks me off. Sometimes I want to say some more explicit words, but I won't. But the fact is, no matter, I hold Lansing 50% responsible, and I hold 50% responsibility to Flint. They had a mayor in there at the time that wasn't doing crap for the city to begin with. Then Karen Weaver came in there and she started raising alarm bells and everything. At first, she was doing a great job with Flint. She was raising it to national, the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it. I'm so angry with this situation. Notoriety. She was bringing notoriety to what was going on with Flint. Well,
Awareness.
After everybody's aware of it, the whole nation knows about it. Hell, countries overseas were hearing about it, and they were sending donations into the city and all this and that. And then she found out she was getting $170 million from the federal government, and then she already knew that Lansing was going to put $100 and some million into the pot to help get Flint stabilized. And Schneider was talking about on TV, he'd come on there, we're going to recoat the pipes, no, that is not the answer to it. The answer to it is to get rid of the pipes. You got a company out in California that wanted to donate $60 million for PVC, but Schneider says no to him because the agreement was that if this company donated the $60 million, we would buy the rest of the pipes from the same company. It's little things like this that man is not worth being in office. At that point, he should have stepped down, been a real man, and just resigned. But no, he's not going to resign. So the state and a bunch of people got together. They were going to go for a recall for him, and they started getting close to the amount of signatures that they needed for a recall, which I think it was like 1.2 million signatures. And what happened? Lansing goes in and changes the law on recalls, so that if he does get recalled, they don't have to have a special election. They turn around and just put Brian Calley right into the position, which to me, Brian Calley, Bill Schuette, they're just as responsible as the idiot that we have in there right now. And I'm not going to apologize for calling the man an idiot, because I'll tell you what, he's supposed to be one tough nerd. Well, he's screwed up this state for decades. The people of Michigan are going to be paying for decades because of the mistakes that the state didn't take care of the situation. They continually, the water supposedly is drinkable now with filters, and the problem is, I don't know what I want to say here because I'm getting so mad at the situation for Flint.
This is problems. These people are supposed to be our leaders. Now, one of the things that I've always said, a leader is somebody that you want to follow.
Correct.
You should not be browbeaten into following them. And if you don't follow them, you're not the enemy. But one thing that I noticed with the tragedies that have gone on, people take politics out of it. When everything went down, they extended a hand. They helped the person next to them. It didn't matter who they were. It didn't matter their party. People came in and brought water to Flint. Why? Because our leaders said, no, the people of Flint did this to themselves. So, the hell with them. But people did this. Politics aside. The politics have become so divisive that we cannot and will not help the person next to us when it becomes politics.
They've lost common sense. And Bill Schuette, he's already declared to run for governor.
Heaven help us.
Well, here's a problem what I have with it. They've already said Darnell Early, who's the emergency manager, they're going to charge him with involuntary manslaughter. All right, that man answered directly to Rick Schneider.
Yep. And
So if he's guilty of involuntary manslaughter and gross negligence and misconduct of office, that has to go to Rick Schneider as well. But, and then you got Bill Schuette, who I can't stand him. I'm sorry. How you feel about Trump, I feel about Bill Schuette. The fact is, to me, the man is worthless. All right, he sets off $7.5 million to defend Rick Schneider.
The legislature voted for that.
It was his idea and recommendation to do this. Okay, but the two parties there, they didn't stand up to the governor's office. They should have said, no, this man is wealthy enough to defend himself. And I shouldn't bring this up, but hell, even Bill Clinton with his situation there, he paid for his own damned attorneys.
Yeah.
It still cost us over $1 billion as taxpayers.
Yeah, it did.
To impeach him for
$45 million plus all the things that they didn't do during that time.
The whole thing is, these politicians need to start bringing common sense into the situation. To hell with the party lines, to hell with the party rules. Be the person that you set out to be. Keep your promises that you put to the people in order to get elected. Don't play the games with the people and say what they want to hear and then turn around and go right back to the party lines.
There's several things here. One, the people need to stop putting these type of people in. Bill Schuette is for Bill Schuette. It's Bill Schuette's world that he's running for. He will determine how we live. I got a question for you. Who the hell is Steve Bannon that he has so much power that he wants to tell people in this country how they should live and what they should and shouldn't do? Who is this guy Roy Moore? Who is this guy Bernie Sanders? Who is this guy Chuck Schumer? Who are these people who tell us how we are to live when these are the people of the people, by the people,
supposed to be
for the people? They are telling us what we are supposed to do. Now in Russia, that's how it is. If you want to compare it to communism, if you want to compare it to that, they tell you how you will live. But in this country, the people tell you how they want to live. You are their boss.
But it's changing. And if the people don't wake up and start holding their elected officials accountable, it's going to go to a different direction before they even realize what's happening.
A town hall meeting where someone like this or a state rep or a state senator comes in and tells you what they are going to do. For example, I saw one where the young man from, I want to say it was Colorado, he told the people there, I'm not voting for that. I refuse. No, hold on here. We tell you how to vote. When I ran, I told the people, they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, first of all, the vote comes back to you. You will tell me how to cast the vote, whether I'm congressman, state senator, U.S. senator, state representative. You tell me in this district, you tell that person how you want it voted. Mm-hmm. He doesn't tell you, this is what I'm getting for you.
This is where I've said over and over. They've taken the common sense out. Their real job is to be the voice of their districts. And they're not listening to their districts 99% of the time, unless it benefits them as an elected official.
But it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Because they have sold out to the money, the Koch brothers, you hear their name come up all the time.
Right now, I would agree with you normally on the Koch brothers, but now that Bill Schuette's in the race, those Koch brothers will be putting ads out about him, how bad he is, and everything else, because he's got his hands in the cookie jar with the oil and energy companies. And
if people knew how much money Bill Schuette is selling himself for, Bill Schuette ought to be in Walmart. Come in and, maybe Walmart should start selling politicians. Put one whole line there, and you go through, and you see a congressman in your area, and you say, well, look, $1 million, this is what I want. And he said, well, I represent the people. No, this is what I want. Here's your $1 million. Now do as you're told. That's why they can't go in front of the people. That was one thing that I had that they didn't have. By not taking any money, by telling people the truth, by telling people what was possible, I was able to go out in front of them and discuss things. I was able to go out and not be afraid because I didn't have anything to hide.
No matter what, you need money to run elections. Now wait,
True.
the problem is
How much?
well, no, it's not that. The problem is these elected officials aren't getting money from just the people.
No.
It's the big corporations, the lobbyists that are buying them. You know, John Doe's little $10 or $20 donation to his campaign isn't nothing compared to what General Motors, and I'll throw that out there for General Motors. Here, better yet, let's put it out for somebody I do know. How about Allstate and State Farm insurance companies?
Yeah.
You know, Allstate gave $400,000 to the Democrats and $400,000 to the Republican Party. You got State Farm who turned around and gave $375,000 to the Democrats and $350,000. I don't understand that one, but either way, they're buying our politicians.
Okay, so let's answer
here we go
this.
back to the cows.
Let's answer this last question. What happens in the democracy? Well, at the present time, it is up for sale. It doesn't belong to the people anymore. And the thing is, and I'm going to stress what I've said many, many times, so you've heard it before. You elect these jokers. Whatever they do, you got to live with it, and you got to pay for it. Now, for those people who are the 33% for the great demagogue, you share in his crap. Because whatever he does to the rest of them, he'll do to you, because you live with it.
Well, let me interject here a little bit, too. You have a chance, as you say, to worry about the demagogue there. If you elect a governor that's actually willing to stand up to him for the state of Michigan, you don't have to worry about what he does out there in Washington, D.C., because the governor actually has more authority in the state than that man over there in Washington does. So I see that we're running out of time here. So
now I'm pretty sure, please understand, as a disclaimer, all we want you to do is hear what we say. Your opinion is just as valuable as ours, but we want you to think. Listen to what we're saying and think about it. Separate all these people and think about you. And if you do that, you're going to have some very good opinions, because I know you cannot believe some of the stuff that's coming out. So with that, before we burn the place down, we'll call it a night. We got this nice bridge behind us. So everybody, Todd, have a good night.
you do the same, Dave.
Have a great night, and we'll see you next time on Political Talk.
Views and content expressed in the previous program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the previous program.